Joining us now from the Heritage Foundation's former CKE Restaurants CEO, Andy Puzder. Andy, great to see you. I know you're in touch with your old franchisees and talk to them about the workforce and how it might have changed during the pandemic and even before that. What are they telling you?
Well, a lot of the franchisees started out, sweeping floors or cleaning off the tables in a restaurant and worked their way up. And what they're telling me is the people that they've been seeing, the young people since the pandemic ended, haven't been the same kind of workers you saw before the pandemic. They don't want to work a 35, 40-hour week. They don't want to work weekends. They don't want to work nights. And if they think they're going to have to do those things, they just quit. They don't show up for the job, which is unfortunate because these restaurants serve as really America's training ground for workers who can't afford to go to college or who decide not to go to college, and they're missing out on the opportunities.
Now, obviously, some of that came about because of the lockdowns and the government handouts during the lockdowns. That, of course, Biden has been criticized because that, of course, continued long after the lockdowns ended, and we just kept with that process of paying people to stay at home. Is it something that we're stuck with now, or could something like a real deep recession shake people out of that?
Yeah, a real deep recession is going to make it so a lot of people are going to have to get back to work. And when that happens, when people start returning to the labor force, when we don't have 11 million job openings and only about 4 million people looking for work, that situation is going to change. That's when employees will start competing with jobs. Right now, you've got a situation where employers are competing for employees. But when employees start competing for those jobs, you're going to see a big difference in performance and, I assume, productivity.
How long do you think that transition would take place? I mean, honestly, I don't think you have to have a deep recession in order to turn the economy around. I think the right incentives could do it, but we're stuck with an administration that doesn't want to give the private sector those incentives.
Right. If we could, as you know, inflation is a result of demand exceeding supply. And if this administration could somehow adopt some supply-side economics so that the supply increase to meet demand, then we really wouldn't have to go through a recession. We wouldn't have to suffer the pain of trying to decrease demand, because that demand comes from working and middle-class Americans, and they're the ones who suffer when you drive it down. But this administration doesn't seem to be able to do that. So it's going to be at least another 2 years before we're going to see the kind of policies that we need to get out of this.
That's extraordinary. Is there nothing that a Republican Congress could do to get those incentives back in the economy?
I think the Republican Party can do a number of things. First of all, they can stop this ridiculous spending that's driving demand. They can put an end to additional spending. They can use the budgeting process to try and cut back on some programs. They can at least stop things from going in a negative direction, which is where they're going now. What I'm hoping is that they can take actions with respect to energy. That's a big part of this. And we need to get American oil producers producing once again.
Yeah, you can't pump an economy without oil or gas.
Nope.
Andy Puzder, good to see you. Thank you very much.